My psycho ex eliminated every pet I ever adopted, until I adopted a rescue Pitbull that bit his face off. My name is Amber, and I'm writing this from a hospital waiting room with dried red liquid still under my fingernails. Not my red liquid, his. Let me back up. 3 years ago, I met Derek at a coffee shop in Portland. He had this smile that made you forget your own name. Dark hair, green eyes, wore flannel in a way that didn't look like he was trying too hard. He bought my coffee without asking, which normally would have annoyed me, but something about the way he did it felt different. We talked for 4 hours straight. He told me about his job as a software engineer, his family in Boston, his dream of building a tiny house in the woods. I told him I was a freelance graphic designer, that I'd just moved to Portland 6 months ago, that I was still trying to figure out who I was after a bad breakup. He listened. Really listened. Not the kind of listening where someone's just waiting for their turn to talk, the kind where they remember everything you say. Red flag number 1 that I completely missed. We started dating 2 weeks later. He was perfect. Too perfect. But I'd learned to distrust my instincts after my last relationship, so I ignored that little voice in my head saying, slow down. 4 months in, I adopted a cat. A tiny orange tabby from the shelter named Mango. I'd always wanted a cat, but my ex before Derek was allergic, so this felt like reclaiming something for myself. Derek seemed fine with it. Said he loved cats. Even bought Mango toys and fancy food. 2 weeks later, Mango was gone. I came home from a client meeting and found the window wide open. My 3rd floor apartment window that I never opened more than a crack because I was paranoid about exactly this. Derek helped me search the neighborhood for hours. He made flyers, posted on every lost pet page, held me while I cried myself to sleep. These things happen, he said, stroking my hair. Cats are curious. She probably just wandered off. But Mango wasn't that kind of cat. She was timid, afraid of everything. She wouldn't have jumped out a window 3 stories up. I tried to tell Derek this, but he just kept reassuring me we'd find her. We never did. I was devastated for months. Derek was there for all of it, patient and understanding. He even suggested we wait a while before getting another pet. You're not ready yet, he said. Give yourself time to heal. Looking back, I should have seen it then. The way he watched me grieve, like he was studying me, taking notes. 8 months passed. I finally felt ready to try again. I adopted a dog this time, a beagle mix named Biscuit from the same shelter. 7 years old, calm, perfect for apartment living. Derek moved in with me 2 weeks after I brought Biscuit home. It seemed like the natural next step. We'd been together over a year. He practically lived at my place anyway. His lease was ending. It made financial sense. Plus, I thought having him around would be good for Biscuit. Someone home more often since Derek worked remotely. Biscuit died 3 weeks later. The vet said it was poison. Rat poison, specifically. But I didn't have rat poison in my apartment. I'd never had rats. The building was well maintained, old but clean. Could he have gotten into it outside? The vet asked. Maybe. Biscuit was always sniffing around the dumpsters during walks. But he was well trained, never ate anything off the ground. Derek held me in the vet's office while they put Biscuit down. The poison had destroyed his organs. There was nothing they could do. I cried so hard I threw up in the parking lot. I'm so sorry, Derek whispered, rubbing my back. This is my fault. I should have watched him more carefully during walks. It's not your fault, I said, because I believed it. He insisted it was. Beat himself up about it for weeks, which made me comfort him while I was drowning in my own grief. Red flag number 2. I told myself I was done with pets. 2 in less than 2 years. I couldn't handle it anymore. The universe was clearly sending me a message. Derek agreed. Maybe you're just not a pet person, he said gently, and that's okay. But I knew I was a pet person. I'd grown up with animals. My childhood dog lived to be 16. My family always had cats, birds, even a rabbit once. I'd never lost a pet like this before. 6 months passed. Derek proposed. Small, intimate, just us on a hike in the gorge. The ring was simple and perfect. I said yes because I loved him, and because saying no felt like admitting something was wrong when I couldn't point to what. We set a date for the following summer. Started planning. His mom flew out to meet me. She was cold, formal, but Derek said that was just how she was. Then winter came, and I saw a Facebook post from the shelter. They'd rescued 40 dogs from a hoarding situation. Needed foster homes desperately. One of the photos showed this small terrier mix, matted and scared, hiding in the back of a kennel. Something in me broke open. I showed Derek. Just fostering, I said. Temporary? They need help. His jaw tightened. Just for a second. Then he smiled. Of course, if it's important to you. I picked up the dog the next day. A girl, maybe 2 years old, they thought. She'd been living in her own filth, never socialized, terrified of everything. I named her Pepper, for the white and black spots on her ears. Derek kept his distance at first, said he didn't want to overwhelm her, which I appreciated. Pepper needed space to decompress, but I noticed things. Small things. The way Derek watched her when he thought I wasn't looking. Not with affection, with something else. Something calculating. I convinced myself I was being paranoid. He'd been nothing but supportive, helpful, kind. Pepper started warming up to me after a week, eating from my hand, sleeping in a dog bed next to our bed, learning that inside meant safety. One night, I woke up to Derek standing over her bed, just staring down at her in the dark. What are you doing? I asked, my voice hoarse with sleep. He startled. Couldn't sleep. Wanted to check on her? In the dark? Didn't want to wake you with the light. Made sense. I went back to sleep. Red flag number 3. 2 weeks into fostering, I came home early from a grocery run. I'd forgotten my wallet. Derek was in the kitchen. Pepper's food bowl was on the counter, and Derek was doing something to it. I couldn't see what. He was bent over it, his back to me. Hey! I called out. He jumped. Actually jumped. Knocked the bowl onto the floor. Food scattered everywhere. Jesus, Amber, you scared me. Sorry. Forgot my wallet. I looked at the food on the floor. What were you doing? Just feeding her. I was trying to surprise you by taking care of it. He laughed, but it sounded wrong. Forced. Why was the bowl on the counter? I feed her on the floor. I was measuring the portions. Wanted to make sure I got it right. I looked at him for a long moment. My heart was doing this weird thing, beating too fast and too slow at the same time. Okay, I said. Thanks. I grabbed my wallet and left. Sat in my car for 10 minutes before going to the store. Something was wrong. I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't make the pieces fit together in my brain. That night, I didn't let Pepper eat the food Derek had prepared. Made up an excuse about her having an upset stomach. Fed her fresh food from a new bag. Derek didn't say anything, but I felt him watching me. I started feeding Pepper myself. Every meal. Stopped leaving her alone with Derek. Made excuses to take her to my studio when I worked, even though it was less convenient. Derek noticed. You don't trust me with her, he said one night. Not quite a question. That's not it. I lied. Then what is it? She's fragile. I want to be careful. He stared at me for a long moment. Fine. The shelter called a week later. They had a potential adopter for Pepper. A retired woman with a fenced yard and 2 other small dogs. Perfect situation. I should have been happy. That was the goal of fostering. Find them good homes. Instead, I felt sick. I told the shelter I wanted to adopt Pepper myself. Failed foster, they called it. Happens all the time. They were thrilled. Derek's face when I told him. I'll never forget it. Just for a second, something dark flickered across his expression. Then it was gone, replaced by that supportive smile. That's great, babe. I know she means a lot to you, but his voice was flat, empty. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Mango, about Biscuit, about Derek standing over Pepper in the dark, about him doing something to her food bowl. I thought about the pattern, how both pets had died after Derek had been around them for a while, how he'd been so supportive through my grief, how he'd suggested I wasn't a pet person. My hands were shaking as I grabbed my phone, sat in the bathroom with the door locked and started Googling. Partner killing pets, signs of abusive relationship, pet abuse warning signs. The articles made my stomach turn. Pet abuse as a control tactic, a way to test boundaries, to cause pain without leaving marks, to see if the partner would stay. I thought about how perfect Derek had been, how attentive, how he seemed to know exactly what to say and when. People who are too perfect are usually hiding something. I checked the time, 2 a.m. I called my best friend Jessica anyway. She answered on the 4th ring, voice thick with sleep. Amber, what's wrong? I told her everything. The pets, the patterns, my suspicions. It sounded insane saying it out loud. She was quiet for a long time. Come stay with me, she finally said. Tonight, right now. Bring Pepper. I can't just, Amber, listen to yourself. You're scared of your fiancé. Come here. We'll figure it out in the morning. But I didn't go, because a part of me still didn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. Derek loved me. He was going to be my husband. I was just stressed and paranoid, and Pepper started getting sick 3 days later. Vomiting, not eating, lethargic. I took her to the vet immediately. Didn't tell Derek I was going. Just grabbed her and left while he was in a meeting. The vet ran tests. Found nothing conclusive. Said maybe she ate something she shouldn't have. Gave me medication and told me to watch her closely. I didn't let Derek near her food after that. Prepared everything myself. Kept her with me constantly. She got better. Started eating again, playing, acting normal. Derek acted normal too. Too normal. Like he was performing. Every gesture felt rehearsed. I started looking for apartments. Told Jessica, but no one else. Checked listings during lunch breaks. Calculated how much I'd need for a deposit. The problem was the lease. Derek and I had just renewed for another year. Both our names on it. Breaking it would cost thousands I didn't have. I needed proof. Something concrete. Not just a feeling in my gut, so I ordered nanny cams. Small ones disguised as phone chargers and picture frames. Set them up around the apartment when Derek was at his weekly poker night with his coworkers. I felt insane doing it. Like I was the crazy one. Maybe I was. The first 2 weeks, the cameras showed nothing. Just normal life. Derek working, walking around, watching TV. Then one afternoon, I was at a client presentation. Got a motion alert on my phone from the camera in the kitchen. I pulled up the feed on my phone under the table. Derek was standing at the counter. Pepper was in her crate in the living room where I'd left her. He had her food bowl and a small brown bottle. I watched him shake something from the bottle into her food, mix it with his finger, put the bottle back in his pocket. My hands went numb. The client was still talking. Someone asked me a question. I have no idea what I said. I ended the meeting early. Made up an excuse. Drove home going 20 over the speed limit the whole way. Derek wasn't there when I got back. His car was gone. Pepper was still in her crate, crying to get out. I let her out and dumped her food in the trash. Fed her from a fresh bag, hands shaking so hard I could barely open it. Then I downloaded the camera footage to my laptop, watched it again, and again. There was no mistake. No misunderstanding. Derek was poisoning my dog. I called Jessica. She came over immediately. Watched the footage herself. Holy shit, she breathed. Amber, you need to call the police. And tell them what? My fiancé is poisoning my dog? They'll think I'm insane. You have video evidence of him putting something in dog food. Could be vitamins for all they know. Supplements. I need more. What you need is to get out of here. She was right. I knew she was right, but I also knew Derek. If I just left, he'd come after me. He'd find me. He'd been so careful, so methodical. This wasn't impulse. This was planned. I needed to catch him. Really catch him in a way he couldn't talk his way out of. I have an idea, I said, but it's going to sound crazy. Jessica looked at me like I'd lost my mind when I explained it. Maybe I had. The plan was simple. I would pretend everything was normal, keep the cameras running, gather more evidence, enough to prove a pattern, enough that the police would have to listen, and I would keep Pepper safe no matter what. She'd eat only food I prepared, drink only water I poured. I'd watch her every second. Derek came home that evening acting normal. asked about my day, kissed my cheek, played with Pepper for the cameras. I smiled and chatted and pretended I hadn't watched him try to poison her 4 hours earlier. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done. Over the next week, I caught him 3 more times. Always when he thought I was out or busy. Always careful. Always with that same brown bottle. I had Jessica look up the footage. She had a friend who was a vet tech. They thought it might be antifreeze. Small doses. Enough to make the pet sick slowly. Avoid suspicion. Amber, this is enough, Jessica said after the 4th video. Go to the police, now. But I'd started researching. Read about cases like this. How hard they were to prove. How often the abuser got away with it because the victim didn't have enough evidence. Because prosecutors didn't think pet poisoning was worth their time. I needed him to confess. To say it out loud where I could record it. So I set a trap. I told Derek I had to go to a conference in Seattle. 3 days. Last minute invitation. Couldn't turn it down. What about Pepper? He asked, too casual. I'll board her. That place in Beaverton you liked? I can watch her. You sure? I know you're busy with work. I want to. Really. Make up for, Biscuit. His eyes got all soft and sad. I've been thinking about it a lot. How I failed you then. Let me do this. I wanted to throw up. Instead, I smiled. Okay, thank you. That means a lot. I didn't go to Seattle. I went to Jessica's apartment with Pepper. Set up a laptop to monitor all the cameras. Waited. Derek spent the first day acting normal. Working, making food. Watching TV. The second day, he started searching my things. Went through my dresser. My computer. Looking for something. The third day, he brought someone to the apartment. A woman. Tall, blonde, confident. They sat on my couch drinking wine and laughing. I recognized her from his phone. His co-worker, Emma, the one he'd mentioned a few times, said they were just friends. They weren't acting like friends. I watched them kiss. Watched him lead her to our bedroom. Watched him close the door. Jessica put her hand on my shoulder. Turn it off. You don't need to see this. But I kept watching because I needed to know. Needed to see who Derek really was. They came out an hour later. Emma was getting dressed, talking about something. Then Derek said it. She'll never know. She's an idiot. Kept adopting animals even after I killed the first 2. Some people just refuse to learn. My blood turned to ice. Emma laughed. You're terrible. Those poor animals. They're just animals. And she was getting too comfortable. Too independent. The pets made her happy. Can't have that? What about the new one? Giving it time. Don't want it to be too obvious. But once we're married, I'll get her isolated. Pregnant maybe. Then it won't matter. She won't be able to leave. Emma kissed him. You're so bad. I love it. Jessica was recording it on her phone. The whole conversation. That's enough, she said. We're calling the police now. But I was already thinking ahead. Derek had just confessed to murder. 2 counts. And conspiracy for a 3rd. Plus the cheating. Plus whatever else was on those recordings. He thought he was so smart, so careful. But he'd gotten cocky. Made the one mistake all narcissists make eventually. He underestimated me. I called a lawyer before I called the police. Got advice. Documented everything. Timestamps, dates, vet records, the videos, the audio confession. Then I called the police and reported animal cruelty with evidence. It took them 3 days to arrest him. 3 days of me pretending to come home from Seattle, acting normal, sleeping in the same bed as a man who'd murdered my pets and planned to trap me in a marriage. The detective who took my statement was a woman named Rodriguez. She'd seen cases like this before. Knew what they could turn into. You did the right thing, she said. These guys always escalate. Pets first, then partners. Derek was charged with 2 counts of animal cruelty and 1 count of attempted animal cruelty. They found the brown bottle in his coat pocket. Antifreeze, just like Jessica's friend thought. He tried to claim it was for his car. That he had no idea how it ended up in dog food. That the videos were edited. But his lawyer saw the footage of him with Emma. Heard the confession. Knew it was over. Derek took a plea deal. 1 year in jail. 3 years probation. Restraining order. Mandatory counseling. Not enough. Not nearly enough for what he did, but it was something. Emma kept texting him in jail. I know because the prosecutor showed me the messages as part of the case. She didn't think he'd done anything wrong. Thought I was overreacting. They were just animals. Boys will be boys. Some people are beyond help. I moved in with Jessica temporarily. Broke the lease. Took the financial hit. Didn't care. Started therapy. Dealt with the fact that I'd almost married a man who'd murdered my pets as a form of control. Who'd planned to isolate me. Trap me. Dealt with the guilt that I hadn't seen it sooner. That I'd ignored red flags. That I'd trusted him. My therapist said it wasn't my fault. That Derek had been grooming me from the start. That abusers are experts at hiding who they really are. It helped. A little Pepper helped more. She'd been through hell too. We recovered together. 6 months after Derek went to jail, I started looking for a bigger place. Something with a yard. Room for Pepper to run. Jessica came with me to viewings. Helped me narrow it down. We found a perfect little house in southeast Portland. Old but charming. Fenced yard. Affordable. I put in an offer. It was accepted. Moving day was chaos. Jessica, her boyfriend Marcus, my brother Tyler, all helping carry boxes. Pepper running around exploring every corner of her new home. I felt light for the first time in years. That night, alone in my new house, I made a decision. I was going to foster again. Give more dogs like Pepper a second chance, but I'd be smarter this time. More careful. Trust my instincts, and I'd never ignore red flags again. I applied to the shelter the next week. They were thrilled to have me back. Said they'd send over some dogs who needed temporary placement. The first one arrived 2 weeks later. A senior Pitbull named Roxy. 70 pounds of muscle and scars and the sweetest temperament I'd ever seen. She'd been seized from a dogfighting ring. Needed medical care and socialization. The shelter said she was unadoptable. Too old, too damaged, too much baggage. I took one look at her and fell in love. Roxy was afraid of everything at first. Loud noises, sudden movements, men especially. She'd She'd shake when Tyler came over to help fix my fence, but she loved Pepper. They became instant friends. And slowly, day by day, Roxy started to trust me. I wasn't looking to adopt her. The plan was just to foster, help her heal enough to maybe find a home, but 3 months in, I couldn't imagine my life without her. I called the shelter. I'm keeping her. They were shocked, happy, said Roxy had gotten lucky, but I was the lucky one. Life fell into a rhythm: work, dogs, therapy, healing. Derek got out of jail after 8 months on good behavior. The restraining order was still in effect. I didn't think about him much anymore. He was a ghost. A lesson learned. Then one night, 3 weeks after Derek's release, I came home from dinner with Jessica. It was late, nearly 11. The street was quiet. I parked in my driveway and grabbed my purse. That's when I saw him, Derek, standing in my yard. The motion sensor lights hadn't caught him yet. He was just standing there. In the shadows by my fence, my heart stopped. Literally stopped. He saw me see him, smiled. That same smile that had made me forget my name 3 years ago. Except now all I saw was rot underneath. I should have called 911, should have stayed in my car, should have driven away. Instead, I opened my door. You need to leave. I just want to talk. You're violating a restraining order. Leave. Now. He took a step closer. You ruined my life, Amber. You ruined your own life. All of this over some stupid animals. Do you know what jail was like? Do you care? Not even a little bit. His face changed. That mask of civility dropped. You think you won? But you didn't. You're going to pay for what you did to me. The motion lights flicked on. Flooded the yard. I could see him clearly now. See the anger in his eyes. The hate. He had something in his hand. I couldn't tell what. Something metal, glinting. Derek, leave, or I'm calling the police. Call them. I'll be inside your house before they get here. And those dogs you love so much? I'm going to make you watch. My hand was already on my phone. Finger on the emergency call button. But then I heard it. A sound from inside my house. Low and deep. Barking. Roxy's bark. Different from her normal bark. Deeper. Dangerous. Derek heard it too. What the hell is that? That's your worst nightmare if you don't leave right now. He laughed. A dog? You think a dog scares me? I've killed 2 of yours already. The barking got louder, closer. Then the dog door, the one I'd installed last month, banged open. Roxy came through like a missile. 70 pounds of muscle and fury and every bit of trauma from that fighting ring channeled into pure protective rage. Derek had time to raise his arm. That was it. Roxy hit him chest high, knocked him flat on his back, went straight for his face. I heard myself screaming, heard Derek screaming, heard the horrible sounds of teeth and tearing, and Roxy! Off! Off! She didn't listen at first. 3 years of abuse, months of fighting, all of it coming out at once. But then Pepper was there, barking, dancing around them, and something in Roxy clicked. She let go, backed up, came to stand between me and Derek, hackles raised, lips pulled back, blood on her muzzle. Derek was curling on the ground, hands over his face, screaming, blood everywhere. I called 911, hands shaking so hard I could barely dial. The operator was calm, asked questions. I answered them on autopilot. Yes, someone was hurt. No, I wasn't in immediate danger. Yes, the dog was contained. No, I didn't know the extent of the injuries. Derek was still screaming. That thing tried to kill me. I'll sue you. I'll have it put down. You were violating a restraining order. In my yard, threatening me. You're going to jail. Again. For longer this time. The police arrived first. Then the ambulance. They loaded Derek onto a stretcher. His face was a mess. Deep lacerations. Part of his ear torn. Bite marks all over his neck and jaw. The paramedics said he'd need surgery. Lots of it. Might have permanent scarring. Good. One of the officers took my statement. Listened to the whole story. Checked the restraining order. Saw Derek had violated it. The dog? He asked. She was protecting me. He had a weapon. I felt threatened. They found a knife in the grass where Derek had dropped it. Folding knife. Nasty looking. The officer nodded. We'll need to take your dog for a quarantine hold. Standard procedure for a bite. But given the circumstances, he looked at Derek being loaded into the ambulance. I think this was a clear case of defense. The DA will review it, but I doubt your dog will face any consequences. They took Roxy anyway. 10-day hold at animal control. Made sure she wasn't rabid. I visited her every single day. She seemed confused at first, like she thought she'd done something wrong, but I kept telling her she was a good girl, the best girl. My hero, Derek, tried to press charges. Dangerous dog. Unprovoked attack. The whole thing. But the security camera I'd installed after the Derek situation, the one that covered my whole yard, had caught everything. Him in my yard, the knife, the threats. Roxy defending me. The DA threw out his claims. Added more charges for Derek. Violation of restraining order. Criminal threatening. Possession of a weapon during a crime. He went back to jail. Wouldn't get out for years this time. I got Roxy back after 10 days. Brought her home with a new collar and the biggest steak I could find. She and Pepper met me at the door like I'd been gone for years instead of a few hours. Jessica came over that night. Brought wine and takeout. We sat on my couch with both dogs between us. You know this is insane, right? She said. Like completely insane. Which part? All of it. The murder pets. The psycho ex. The Pitbull revenge. This is like something from a movie. Yeah, well, it's my life. How are you so calm about this? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Because I'm free. He can't hurt me anymore. Can't hurt my dogs. Can't hurt anyone. He's going to be in prison. And even when he gets out, he'll have a record. Everyone will know what he did. Poetic justice? Yeah, something like that. We drank our wine in silence for a bit. Pepper snored softly. Roxy's head was heavy on my lap. Are you going to keep fostering? Jessica asked. Absolutely. Even after all this? Especially after all this. Derek tried to break me by hurting things I loved. If I stop loving things because of him, he wins. So I'm going to love louder, harder. I'm going to save every dog I can. Jessica smiled. You're kind of a badass, you know that? I have have good teachers. I scratched Roxy behind her mangled ears. This girl survived things I can't even imagine. If she can come back from that, I can come back from Derek. 3 weeks later, Derek's trial date was set. The prosecutor said it was open and shut. He'd get at least 5 years this time. Maybe more if they could prove he'd planned to hurt me, not just threaten. Emma stopped texting him, found a new boyfriend, posted about him constantly on social media like Derek had never existed. Some people have no loyalty. Thank God I started dating again, slowly, carefully. First date was at a dog park. Figured if they couldn't handle my dogs, there was no point going further. His name was Chris. Accountant. Boring job, but he was funny about it. Loved animals. Had 2 rescue cats at home. We talked for 3 hours while Roxy and Pepper played. I told him about Derek on the second date. Figured better to get it out of the way. Some guys would run. That was fine. I needed someone who could handle the truth. Chris didn't run, just listened, asked questions, seemed genuinely horrified by what Derek had done. Your dog is a hero, he said, looking at Roxy. I hope she knows that. I tell her every day. We took it slow, really slow. I wasn't ready to rush into anything. Might never be ready for that again, but it was nice. Having someone who saw my scars and didn't flinch, who understood why I needed to foster dogs, why I had cameras everywhere, why I couldn't sleep without both dogs in my room. The trial happened in late spring. I had to testify, face Derek across a courtroom, watch him try to lie his way out of everything. His lawyer tried to paint me as crazy, said I'd orchestrated everything, that I'd trained Roxy to attack him, that I'd lured him to my house. The prosecutor destroyed him, showed the videos of Derek poisoning Pepper, played the audio of him confessing to Emma, showed the security footage from my yard, Derek with a knife, Derek threatening me, Roxy doing what she'd been trained to do in that horrible fighting ring, protect at all costs. The jury deliberated for 2 hours, found him guilty on all counts. The judge gave him 7 years, said what Derek had done was calculated and cruel, that he'd shown no remorse, that he was a danger to me and to animals. 7 years. Not life, not forever, but better than 1 year. Better than him getting out in 8 months on good behavior. I cried in the courthouse bathroom after the sentencing. Jessica held me while I sobbed. Relief, anger, grief for the time I'd lost with Derek, for the pets he'd murdered, for the person I'd been before I met him. It's over, Jessica said. Really over this time. And it was. I went home that night and sat in my backyard with Roxy and Pepper, watched them play in the fading light, thought about how close I'd come to losing everything. But I didn't lose. I survived. And not just survived, I rebuilt. 6 months after the trial, I adopted another dog, an elderly lab mix named Mabel, blind in one eye, arthritic. The shelter said no one would want her. She fit perfectly into our little pack, then another. A 3-legged terrier named Bandit, then 2 more. Bonded pair of huskies someone had dumped when they got too old. My house became a sanctuary, a place where broken things came to heal, just like me. Chris proposed a year after Derek's sentencing, not with a big gesture or a fancy ring, just sitting on my couch with 5 dogs piled around us. Watching a movie, being ordinary. I want to do this forever, he said. You, me, however many dogs we can fit in one house. I said yes, because I'd learned something from Derek. I'd learned that love shouldn't hurt, shouldn't make you smaller, shouldn't take away the things that make you you. Real love makes space, adds, multiplies. We got married 6 months later in my backyard. Small ceremony, close friends, family, all 5 dogs as witnesses. Derek sent a letter from prison. His lawyer forwarded it. I didn't open it, just threw it away. Whatever he had to say, I didn't need to hear it. He was my past. A chapter closed. A lesson learned. I had a future now, full of possibility, full of dogs who needed saving, full of a man who loved me for exactly who I was. And I had Roxy, my girl, my hero, the dog who saved my life by being exactly what she'd been trained to be, a fighter, just for the right reasons this time. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I hadn't adopted her, if I'd stuck with just Pepper, if I'd gotten another small dog, something Derek could have hurt. He would have broken into my house that night. I know he would have. He'd brought a knife. He'd planned it. And I don't know if I would have survived, but I did adopt Roxy, and she did protect me. And now Derek is in prison and I'm free, and that's its own kind of justice. The poetic kind, the best kind. People ask me sometimes if I'm angry, if I hate Derek for what he did, if I wish worse things had happened to him. And the truth is, I don't think about him much anymore. He's noise, static, a bad dream I woke up from. I'm too busy living, fostering dogs, loving my husband, building the life I want instead of the life someone else planned for me. That's the real revenge. Not the trial or the prison sentence or even Roxy's teeth. The real revenge is being happy without him, being whole, being free. The real revenge is thriving. I went to visit Derek once, about a year into his sentence. I don't know why, closure maybe, or just morbid curiosity. He looked different, smaller somehow. The scars on his face had healed badly. He'd never be pretty again. We sat across from each other in the visiting room, plexiglass between us, phone receivers like in the movies. He didn't apologize, didn't ask how I was, just stared at me with flat, empty eyes. What do you want? He finally said. I don't know. I guess I thought I needed to see you, to make it real. It's real. I'm in here. You put me here. You put yourself here. You killed my pets. You tried to hurt me. They were just animals. And that's when I knew. He'd never get it, never understand what he'd done wrong. Some people are broken in ways that can't be fixed. I hung up the phone without saying goodbye, walked out of that prison and never looked back. That was 2 years ago. Derek will get out eventually, in 5 more years, probably less with good behavior, but I won't be afraid anymore. I have Roxy, I have Pepper, I have Mabel and Bandit and the Huskies. I have Chris, I have Jessica. I have a life I built from the ground up after after Derek tried to burn it down. And if he ever comes near me again, well, Roxy's not the only one who learned how to fight back. I learned too. I'm not the same person I was when I met Derek at that coffee shop. Not the girl who ignored red flags because she wanted to be loved. Not the woman who stayed quiet while her pets died. I'm someone new now. Someone harder. Someone who knows her worth. Someone who won't ever let anyone make her feel small again. Derek tried to break me. Instead, he forged me into something stronger. So thank you, Derek, for being exactly who you are. For showing me exactly who I don't want to be. For giving me the greatest gift. The knowledge that I can survive anything. Even you. Especially you. I'm writing this from my backyard. Late summer evening. Golden light. Dogs playing. Chris grilling dinner. Life being ordinary and beautiful and mine. My psycho ex killed every pet I ever adopted. Until I adopted a rescue pit bull that bit his face off. And now I'm here. Alive, free, happy. That's the end of the story. Or maybe it's the beginning. Either way, I'm not afraid anymore, and that's everything.